guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jigyasa and you're Jigyasa-ing. In today's video, we're going to be talking about dating people with anxiety or PCOS. So if you are not up for a serious and slightly some emotional video, then I am perfectly okay with you signing out of this video and watching something else, because I wanted to help the people that I need to help. And if this is not the kind of content you want to watch, that's perfectly okay, but don't forget to subscribe because I do post videos about other things as well. So let's just get started. First of all, let's just talk about what PCOS and anxiety is, and this video is for guys and for girls both. A lot of guys face anxiety and understanding issues in general, and a lot of women have PCOS, which is polycystic ovarian syndrome, and I will link a Facebook support group down below, which I basically function head support whatever. There is a support and an awareness page down below, so you can check that out. And there are a lot of women who have PCOS and anxiety as a symptom of PCOS, and just general anxiety as well. And so I wanted in this video to talk about people being close to somebody who has PCOS or anxiety is kind of a big deal and an issue. And I just really wanted to talk about this. So let's just get started. And the first thing I want to say before I actually go on to the little segments that I've divided for this video is that I am in no way a qualified person to talk about anxiety medically. I can only tell you in terms of my own experience with anxiety, because I've been going through with it for a few years, and PCOS has been a constant part of my life as well. And I have been running a support group, and I have done a few videos on PCOS which you can check out here. And if you just generally want to know about anxiety and not anything to do with dating with people with anxiety, then you can check out the video here where we talk about facts and how you can deal with it and things of that sort. So just to clear the air over there. First of all, I think the first thing that I need to tell people with anxiety is that no matter how hard it gets, and it does get really hard, you should not settle for somebody who does not and cannot understand what you're going through. I'm not saying that two people with anxiety need to get together or anything of that sort, but you need to be with somebody who's supportive enough to understand, or at least to acknowledge what you are facing. Now, the person does not have to be medically qualified to be there for you or to understand what you're going through. It is just something that comes with out of love and affection for the person that you're with. And this video is not specifically for people who are dating people. It could also be somebody that you're emotionally very attached to, and it could be somebody who's a very good friend of yours, and you may or may not be dating them. It could be somebody of the same gender, it could be your sister, it could be anybody. So but in general outlook, I am going to be talking in terms of dating, just to make things a little bit more simpler and a little bit more let's say specific in this video. So first of all, the thing that somebody who's dating somebody with PCOS or anxiety needs to understand is acknowledgement of the fact that that person has PCOS, has symptoms of PCOS, or if it's a guy or just a woman with anxiety, that you need to understand that anxiety is something that people face. It is not just general stress, okay? So people who face stress from time to time, that is called general stress, where you get a little bit nervous about going to some place for a job interview, and all of those kind of things are kind of normal. But then anxiety beats all of those levels and goes to a new extent altogether. You have to understand that anxiety can affect opportunities that the person takes up. It could affect their career, although they might be really good at it, and their personal life, and you are their personal life, because since we're talking about dating over here. So that's the thing. And the very, I think, according to me, the most important thing about dating someone with anxiety is that you need to be able to trust them as a friend, and you need to be there for them as a friend before as a husband or a boyfriend or as a girlfriend or as a wife. You need to be there as a friend, and you need to be able to communicate with them as a friend before anything else in the world. There is no way that somebody with anxiety will be able to lead a full healthy life or a relationship with somebody if they cannot communicate and they cannot talk about their everyday struggles and symptoms. There are some good days, there are some really bad days, there are some good months and there are some bad months, but for somebody with anxiety, they need to know that that one person is there for them despite it all. Okay, now as a general outlook, people think that people who have anxiety are usually introverts, which is not true. um, the people who have anxiety could be great leaders, they could be great speakers, they could be people who you see on stage time and again, they could be people who are very socially active, but they still go through anxiety. So that, especially for people who are introverts, they will generally keep everything to themselves and share it with you as much as they can, or sometimes they won't even do that. But people who are extroverts, now I cannot say much about introverts because there are times when I go into my introvert zone, but on a general basis I am an extrovert, but I'm an extrovert with anxiety, and so I will do whatever I have to do for my career, and I will do it to the highest extent, okay, without feeling a lot of anxiety. But for me to know that there is somebody at the back supporting me and who's going to be there for me if I fall apart is very important, okay? So call it a weakness, call it something, whatever, call it whatever, but for me that's very important. So I could be inspiring 2000 people, but I need that one person to be there and support me. So as an extrovert with anxiety, we can communicate to the entire population, but when it comes to us, our own feelings, our own insecurities and whatever, we only want to share it with a few selected people, and those are going to be either close ones, the person we are dating, or friends, right? And so if you fall into any of those categories with somebody who is an extrovert with anxiety or even an introvert with anxiety, you need to be very careful, because they are giving you all, I understand that it's a lot of responsibility, but they're giving you a very big place in their life, and they will do anything to make that place work. But you also need to be a support system right there, and you need to understand the place that you are taking in their life. So you cannot treat it as a joke, and you cannot treat the person, even as a normal human being, you're not allowed to treat somebody like shit. But especially with somebody with anxiety, you shouldn't. Like, if somebody is making you feel like your anxiety is a disability and it is something that they're allowed to put you down with and whatever, I'm sorry, you shouldn't be with that person. You will find somebody who is more supportive, you will find somebody who's more caring and more understanding, and so you have to wait for that person, but that person is not right for you if they cannot understand you. Then the biggest issue with people with anxiety is that they feel like they're not supported enough, and so the very small things, the very small texts, the very small calls that say that I'm there for you and I love you and this is fine and everything between us is fine, is something that is going to make them feel very protected, and it will make them reduce their anxiety by huge margins. And the minute they get insecure and feel like everything is not okay, that's when the panic begins, and it becomes very, very difficult to manage for the person themselves, and they might try to push you away after that. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is that sometimes as a couple, since we're talking about dating, sometimes as a couple you need to, this is one person and another person, and you need to make sure that nobody, means your closest friend, your closest family, nobody should be able to get between both of you. And if you have insecurities amongst each other, if you have problems amongst each other, which every relationship does, you need to make sure that you sort it out You can take help from people, I'm not saying you can't, but you need to make sure that it stays amongst both of you, and you do not give that right to your friends, however close, to interfere in your life or to be able to talk about the two of you with your anxiety in place, because that will cause a lot of problems and it can shatter your relationship into pieces. So the minute you start communicating with somebody else about your relationship and your insecurities and your anxiety, and the other person starts to do the same with somebody else, your relationship is not going to last, because you both of you are going to have insecurities, and that is going to drive you nuts. And I'm talking from the very honest part of my heart and a very, very sad experience. I shouldn't be disclosing a lot of my life here, but that's the truth. And there are some people who will surround your relationship like parasites and be right there to suck on to any mistakes that both of you might make. This could be because of any reason, okay, but you have to understand that if the both of you continue to communicate, and I cannot emphasize this enough, if you continue to communicate your feelings, your problems, what is, driving you both, where you're both going, and whether you're there for each other or not, that constant need to tell each other is very important, because once you lose that, it will fall apart so quickly. And for people with anxiety, the other thing, apart from friends being parasites, it's very sad, but that's how it works. And at the same time, you need to understand that somebody who's anxious or who faces anxiety issues will have a lot of insecurities deep down, okay? There could be like a million people telling them that they are beautiful and handsome and amazing and just everything, but if they don't hear it from that one person that they have relied their life on, they will not be happy at all. And it's sad, but that's how it works, okay? I'm trying to be really honest here. And if somebody who has anxiety sees a third person in the relationship as a competition, or if that other person is put on a pedestal much higher than where you are being in a relationship with that person, the anxiety levels of that person, you cannot even imagine. The amount of breathlessness, the amount of sleepless nights, and all of that combined is going to drive the other person nuts. And if you're in a relationship with somebody who has an anxiety and you're putting somebody else at a pedestal much higher than them, then you should just walk away from that person and never look back, because you cannot make somebody feel who already is so anxious that somebody else is at a higher place than them, because that will lead them to think and literally list down million things that are wrong with them and put their self-esteem down for no reason at all, when it is not even their fault. So I think it's a conscious choice of the person who is in a relationship, that you need to make sure that, obviously I'm not saying that you need to treat the person that you're with like some god, but you also need to be a little bit careful about what you're doing, what you're saying, what your actions are, because they're going to affect the person greatly. Coming to the next thing is that you need to understand the difference between anxiety and just being absolutely paranoid. There are going to be times when the person will act paranoid, they don't know what's happening, they don't know how to behave and things like that. There will be things that will trigger them like crazy. All of those things, if you're with the person, you need to be able to mentally list down or even physically list down things that trigger them, that piss them off, that will get them going, and you need to be there for them. Now, I understand that physically you cannot be there 24/7 for somebody. If I call you up at some random time, you cannot always be there. I understand. But if out of 5 times, if one time you tell the other person that, look, I'm here for you, everything's fine between us, everything is fine, otherwise there's nothing going wrong, everything is assured and you don't need to worry, trust me that the other 4 times when you're not there and you cannot be around and things do not work as planned, they are going to rely on that one time that you did tell them the right things, play it in their head and calm themselves down. But if out of 5 times, all the 5 times you're not there and all they've heard is you're absolutely nuts, you're crazy, you don't know what you're talking about, I don't know what you have to stress about, there's nothing to be worried about and things like that, the other person is not going to know what to do and it is going to harm them so badly physically and mentally. So you need to be very careful about what you're doing, because again, your actions, your words are going to affect your partner very, very greatly. Okay, I know this sounds very, very difficult, but once you start to know a person and once you know that that person is going through a lot of things, I think you automatically become a little bit more gentle and understanding. But the minute you don't have that love intact, it becomes very difficult. And the last thing that I want to say is that whether you're somebody who's dealing with a problem or not, if you're in a relationship with someone, please do justice to them. I mean, just do justice to yourself, to your life, to their life, and to your relationship, okay? Other people shouldn't be able to define what you have. That's just all I can say. And people who have anxiety can get a little bit difficult to manage, but at the end of the day, the only thing that I know is that if you're in love with somebody and you want to genuinely support them, you will make all the ways that you can and you will do it, okay? And at the same time, if the person is happy and content and in love, they don't need medicines and they don't need healing and they don't need anything, because that one person can make a lot of difference in their life. I know that a lot of you are going to say that you shouldn't be dependent on one person and blah blah blah, but at the end of the day, somebody that you genuinely care about and that one person can make a huge difference in your life. And before I end this video, I did ask a few people about what they think about being with somebody who has anxiety, and the only 2 points that I got were that you, assuring them that you're going to be there for them and making sure that the situations that trigger them and upset them are not around, or at least you try and make sure that that's not around. And so yeah, I wanted to do a giveaway for this video after this video, but then the stuff hasn't arrived yet, so I will be doing a part 2 of this video as well. Let me know what you want that part 2 to be about, and comment in the comment in the section below, comment section below, about what, if you're dating somebody with anxiety, how do you deal with it, and if you have anxiety, what would you like to tell your partner. I want to put it into my next video, and also I will have a giveaway for the same. It didn't come yet, but I really wanted to make this video, so I did. And thank you so much for watching. Please go hit that subscribe button because it means a lot to me, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and if it helped you in any way. Thank you so much.